why did they name this storm Beryl?
Mm.
How did that come about? And when you look at the name Beryl, it deals with a type of revolution. It's found in the Bible, Ezekiel 28:20, in the breastplate of the high priest when he goes in to divine. This whole storm deals with transformation, regeneration, and reevaluating where you are as an individual and as a person and as a place. Where are you sitting? The Yoruba people, their system called Ifa, where they were able to describe the elements of the nature to help people understand. And one of the elements they described in nature was Oya. It's a feminine energy, and it deals in hurricanes, tornadoes, and storms. And it brings about a cleansing, a transformation. And also in that same order, when we look at planets, she is synonymous to the planet Pluto.
Mm.
So what's going on right now? Pluto is entering it through Capricorn, is Aquarius. And what does that involve? That involves government changes in politics, the commercial business, and change in religious institutions. All those three major economics, politics, and religion are going through some major changes. They're going to reveal some things to you. And also look on the political scene. There are some things that are being revealed about the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, that are opening up.
We got the cure, we got the answer to what's happening in society. We got the power to solutions and provide the healing that you need. We got the cure, we got the answer with discussions that will set you free. This is the Ark Republic, and you're listening to The Remedy. The Remedy. The Remedy.
Greetings, wherever you are situated in the world. My name is Dr. Kaya Niambi Shivers, and welcome to the Remedy Podcast. You often see me on Ark Republic's news podcast, but the Remedy Podcast is dedicated to looking at the solutions of issues rather than focusing on the problems. And right now we are speaking to Baba Todd. Baba Todd, right? But and why do I mess up your name, right? But Todd Jackson, affectionately known by us as Baba Todd, who we have embraced. We asked him to be our resident spiritualist, to give us insight in what's going on in the matters of the world, in the things that are not in the facts and the minutia of stuff, because we as people of a darker hue and soul beings, right? Believe that there are multiple ways we could look at the world.
Definitely.
So, but we're going to talk about something that is very real and very palpable because it hit Baba Todd's home, and that is the Hurricane Beryl, that recently barreled through Houston, Texas. How are you doing, Baba Todd?
Hey, I'm fine. All is well. Just got some lights on, some power. Yesterday went 6 days without electricity, so outside of that, still eating and just dealing with the heat. Everything is well.
Well, you know what they say about sweat. It surely does cleanse and pure you. Your skin is looking good. It's glistening.
But thank you, thank
But 6 days without power is a lot.
you. Yeah.
And what has been the ramifications in the city? And maybe it start with your family, but in the city, 6 days without power in a major city.
Yeah. Well, a correction. 4 days without power. The other two of that six, I went and got a hotel room. But
Okay.
I, I'm fortunate. A lot of people there's really no rooms in the city, and a lot of people are stuck without air, food. You know, After a couple of days, whatever was in your refrigerator, it's no longer any good. You got to throw it out. So, you had over 2 million people without electricity, and the power supplier Centerpoint. There's been some issues. They say that the federal government didn't give them the funds for the grant, and then there was issues with the city. I'm not too familiar with that, but I know that there are a lot of people still right now as we speak, at least a 500,000 without electricity.
Wow.
And so you got elderly people here, the young people with health conditions. Those are the things and the type of people you have to be concerned about, because the heat here in Houston, and anybody that's familiar with Houston, Texas, the Southeast region, this humidity is a monster, and the heat alone can kill you.
The heat and the mosquitoes. I remember
Yeah.
years ago, we were driving from my family would make an almost annual trip to Louisiana, where my mother is from, and we would go visit relatives. And we had it was a brown station wagon, and it broke down in Texas. Forgot what the problem was. And we had to get out, a couple of us, the older of us six, had to get out and help my dad. The mosquitoes ran us back in. My
What?
goodness. So yeah, so the after effects of the hurricane are usually where you have a lot of death and illness and sicknesses, and also it shows you the breakdown of infrastructure, or where infrastructure needs to be built. I know Texas in general, there's often criticism because a lot of, or some of its utilities are privatized. Um, we'll get into that on the news section, but I wanted to talk about, have you seen any community that has formed as a result of this crisis?
Any communities? I can't really say I have. That's not to say it hasn't taken place.
Right.
It's just been my access to information and news. I really kind of got up on what was going on yesterday when I got back home and got my internet. So yeah, it's not to say that it's not happening.
Right. I know. So two reference points that I have. There were several years ago, it was a deep freeze. You remember that hit Texas and the power went
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And then before that, you had the 2017 hurricane. And I know definitely for both of those, there were people who were working to get those who were more vulnerable in these climate crises, more
okay.
access to resources and shelter and so on and so forth. That's why I asked.
Yeah, yeah,
I asked that. But I wanted to talk about climate change very briefly. I do know some years ago when we were talking about these issues in Houston, there was this talk about Houston being overdeveloped. Houston, in my opinion, is like Atlanta #2. Now people are saying, hey, don't come to Houston. We are full packed and overflowing. And that's because Houston is one of the few large southern cities where you have a significantly Black population, and Black folk feel like they can move there and enterprise themselves in some
yeah,
way. What are your thoughts about that?
yeah. I think Houston. It's a. I've been in Houston most of my life, um, and I love Houston. I think it is a good place for Black people to live. Um, It was ranked as one of the top 5 best cities for African Americans, based on the fact that Black businesses are here. 2 historically Black colleges and university, Texas Southern University, being in the heart of Houston, and Prairie View being maybe 40 minutes outside. So, and it's just to me, it's a good city for African Americans. Some will even say, hey, Houston is challenging Atlanta for that Black Mecca title. So,
Uh-oh, now you
so
gotta go. They gonna fight you in Atlanta for a show. Here we go.
tell them we on the way. We on the
Uh-oh.
way.
Well, yeah, certainly I do understand. Well, I can say this. I haven't been to Houston. I used to live in Atlanta. I haven't been to Houston as much. I do have family in Houston, but I mean, I think by virtue the infrastructure of the highways alone, y'all got it
Yeah,
covered. But yeah, and I also think that even when the Hurricane Katrina happened in 2005, and you had a significant portion of people from Louisiana move into Houston, that also creates this population shift. But I wanted to end this segment with the question. Well, two questions. What do you think the city needs to do in order to recover and recover properly? And properly is a subjective term.
yeah. I think they've tried. Now I'm not the forgot the term, the knowing all the dynamics of city planning, but flooding, I think we're going to always have an issue. Houston is slowly sinking, as they say, but I think that could still be rectified. And then the power, restoring power at a faster rate. Now, part of the issue from what we've seen is that a lot of the companies that came in to give help to restore power, we had people to travel as far as Los Angeles, Indiana, Florida, due to political reasonings. They were just sitting still, and due to not being paid, obligations and contracts, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but that was part of the delay in restoring people's power. So whatever that is, that part of the infrastructure can be corrected. I think it would be helpful, because being here, we're going to always face these storms. We're going to always have maybe power outages. And one of the issues has been the grid here in Texas. It needs to be, and that has to do more with our Governor Abbott in Austin. So those political things, whatever it takes to work them out, I think will help out.
And my last question is that since you've gone through this, what are you going to do to be prepared for the next time?
I will be more prepared as far as a generator. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at having a standby, a system to where, if lights go out, my house will automatically retain power. And I count it a blessing to be able to do that. But I think the most standard thing is if a person can get a generator, fill your car, your gas tank up, and just be prepared in that way. I definitely won't be caught off guard again with the electricity issue. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. And thank everybody that you have another chance in the redo to be ready, right?
That's right.
But as we know how life goes, it could throw you all type of curveballs, which goes into the second portion of our discussion. And I want to say thank you again, because I know you're still getting situated and resettled, and there's a lot of things that are still being put together during this time in Houston. But we had an excellent conversation yesterday when we were planning this talk, and you wanted to really explore the spiritual understanding of what went on, because regardless of what these political talking heads say, a lot of people are very much looking at things from a spiritual or religious perspective, especially now in the US. And it was just so interesting, right after we got off, the news about the shooting at the Trump rally happened. But
yeah,
what did you glean in terms of what is this looking like for you?
And I have to give credit to my god brother Shango Dire of the Shango Dire Institute. he really got me to looking. When you ask the question, you'll get the answer. First of all, why did they name this storm Beryl? How did that come about? And when you look at the name Beryl, it deals with a type of revolution. It's found in the Bible, Ezekiel 28:20, in the breastplate of the high priest when he goes in to divine. This whole storm deals with transformation, regeneration, and reevaluating where you are as an individual and as a person and as a place. Where are you sitting? What you need to relook. There's some dead things in your life that you need to get rid of. Mm-hmm. So when we look at Beryl, he was also, even for those that are familiar with Ezekiel's wheel in the Bible, in Ezekiel, the color beryl composed that. So beryl really consists, he's synonymous with the Orisha Oya. And when we talk about the Orishas, they are to me, the genius of our people to give a description of nature. And it deals with transformation.
You got to explain more where does Orisha come from? Okay. No, you got to break it down, because people are like, what's that?
It comes from the spiritual system of the the Yoruba people, their system called Ifa, where they were able to describe the elements of the nature to help people understand. And one of the elements they described in nature was Oya. It's a feminine energy, and it deals in hurricanes, tornadoes, and storms. And it brings about a cleansing, a transformation. She is one that deals with, I guess we would say, she is the gatekeeper of the cemetery, and not to spook people out. That is basically, she deals with taking things from from an unalive state to a live state. And it deals with transformation and rejuvenation. You know, a lot of us need to ask ourselves, what is it in my life that I need to reevaluate, that is no longer of serving purpose to me, that is dead, that I need to move forward. So right off, that's one of the things.
Yeah, no, look, Baba Todd, don't be bashful. Everybody needs to hear it and be clear about it right now at this point. I think what has happened, and we've had this conversation, there has been so much. So the good thing is that the digital age has expanded people's conversations and knowledge and understanding, or at the very least, exploration of religion and spirituality out of the confines of what they grew up with or what they were introduced to. The challenge is that you have a lot of snake oil sales folk, coming around and using it, abusing it, so on and so forth. People have shied away. But the good, so we need to have these conversations for people who come, I think, with the level of integrity that's needed and understanding about the situation and removing, this is what the 5%ers call the spookism,
Yeah.
right out of it. Because what we know about Yoruba traditional spirituality, Akan traditional spirituality, indigenous people in America spirituality, all of it is connected to what they call hard science, which is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're not talking about these things floating in the sky metaphysically, so on and so forth. They have significant meaning in our lives, and change is really critical because just in the country today, there's a lot of things that are moving rapidly and are shifting, and a lot of people are not prepared. But what I hear you saying is you got to be internally changed so you can embrace or ride the wave of the external shift.
Yeah. And like you, our people have been taught religion. Well, let me back up. The language of God is signs and symbols. And when you can understand signs and symbols, you can be literate. As long as you understand what nature is telling you, what's coming, then you can make moves, you can prepare yourself. And Genesis 1:14, it talks about the nature being for signs and for symbols. Psalm 19 says the sky, the glory of the Lord is being revealed. All of these things is what our ancestors used. They didn't have, most of them didn't have for instance, my grandfather, he understood nature. He had a 3rd grade education, but he could view nature and get the signs and understand. He knew when to plant his food. He knew when the weather was changing. And so we have to get to a place to where we trust ourselves, our intuition, and understand when things just aren't right. And God speaks that to us in our spirit. Everybody, I don't care what you call yourself. You know when some things are off. You know when you need to prepare yourself. You just know how you need to ebb and flow in this life. So we got to get to a place to where we get still, get quiet, to the voice of God, listen to the voice of our ancestors speak to guide us. Because I'm sure in this storm, before this thing happened, some people got some messages on what they needed to do or where they needed to go. But a lot of times we get complacent, especially if you living in these areas where these storms, they tell you storm is coming, and you'll get a message. but you won't move because you'll say, "Oh well, it ain't never happened before. Ain't nothing happened last time." And so you fail to listen to the spiritual aspect or that spiritual message or even that dream that you had a couple nights before, and you don't move on it. Now you're stuck.
Mhm. Thank you. Also, Oya means revolution.
You know, when we look at Oya, and I guess we need to delve into her,
Mhm.
she comes without warning. She don't announce herself. She don't wait till you get ready. I mean, she don't let you say, "Oh, I need to get this." She comes, and she comes to clean up. She comes to wipe away those things that basically in your life, are they really still necessary? And on the individual basis, what is it that you need transforming? What is it that you need to reevaluate? And also in that same order, when we look at planets, she is synonymous to the planet Pluto.
Mhm.
So what's going on right now? Pluto is entering it through Capricorn, is Aquarius. And what does that involve? That involves government changes in politics, the commercial business, and change in religious institutions. All those three major economics, politics, and religion are going through some major changes. They're going to reveal some things to you. One of the things about her dress is she wears a mask. You don't necessarily see her face. And that's the same thing. You don't necessarily see things until after it happens, until after everything is over with. Now things can be revealed. You know, when a rainstorm comes, it'll blow hard, and then when you go outside, the streets are clean. You can see things. And with this storm that happened in Houston, everybody's fences were torn down. You know, roofs were taken off. So when you're driving through the neighborhoods, you can see in people's yards and backyards that things that had been hidden, that had been closed, now it's open to everybody. And what this storm does, it opens your life to you and to everybody else. And also look on the political scene. There are some things that are being revealed about the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, that are opening up. You know, the social media is really doing it. TikTok, Instagram, you know, you wonder why they want to shut down TikTok. You know, you wonder why they want to close some social media aspects because it reveals some things that we didn't have privy to 10 years ago. So that's that whole energy of Oya. She's about cleaning, transforming, revealing. She comes in the form of tornadoes. These hurricanes consisted of a lot of tornadoes within them. You know, the winds that blew in Beryl, uh, you know, they were strong winds. They moved trees, uprooted large trees. I mean, from the roots. They turned metal pipings and buildings. So Beryl wasn't playing. But going back to something you said earlier about climate change, the scientists said that the Atlantic was warmer than it's ever abnormally warm for this time of year. And you're dealing with all of this water or feminine aspects. They deal with emotion. You know, the Atlantic Ocean is where Beryl started off of the coast of Africa, and then it traveled over Grenada, tore it up, came in. It was a category 4 or 5 before the earliest in history. It broke all kinds of records. Came up through Texas and began to come in the form of tornadoes. So Oya has instituted changing. It's even instituted in how the scientists are looking at the storms. So it brings about transformation, whether you like it or not. And I guess you could say whether you're ready or not.
Here it comes. You can't hide.
Yeah.
Thank you, Baba Todd. Thank you, Baba Todd. Now, for those of you who are like, no, no, he's speaking, the devil speak. Psst, psst. Baba Todd is a Christian practitioner in the AME church, which I absolutely love. And I just came from Brazil. And they often talked about the syncretism, excuse me, that syncretization, maybe that will be the more appropriate word, between of how, the indigenous, the African folk down there who were enslaved had to hide their traditions behind Catholicism. So I just want you to briefly, I know you can never, fully convince anybody, but just to get folk to thinking. First of all, why do you, how do you marry, merge, complement these two of being an AME pastor and also in the Ifa tradition?
Well, I've always been one to study, and shouts out to God's Guiding Light Christian Center, the Holiness Church that I have been a part of also. And because of that, I've been able to see the comparison and contrast of African spirituality. It's all our stuff. Because I understood that the signs and symbols of things, they all are tied together. And unfortunately, because our people haven't had a chance to really study things, and they've been scared, we've been scared about what we do. Everything is demonic. Everything is a demon. Everything is evil. Has really been the thing to stop our people from looking at this. Everything we do in the church is really is no different from some of these ceremonies and rituals they're doing in African spirituality. When we look at how our people evolved from South Carolina, Louisiana, with the spiritual system of hoodoo, and some of the things we do, and we just don't recognize that it's been a part of us all the time. So I know in a roundabout way, but I think it's because I always wanted to know what our people did before slavery. That was the question as a child that I had. So I went out studying everything that I could. And in that exploration, I was able to see that, hey, man, what they're doing over there is the same thing in the Old Testament. The breastplate that Beryl, the stone that it's in, of the high priest, when he went in to consult with God, he used that as a form of divination. So that's a whole nother conversation we have. So our rich history and tradition of spirituality, if we really understood what we got and what we've experienced, what our ancestors have laid for us, it will remove the spookism. Amen.
Amen and ashe. Now, let me tell you, Malcolm X said, you don't talk to anybody about religion or politics. We did both today. And I think, what's his name? El Haj Malik Shabazz, right? Brother Omar Wali, as he was, that was his Yoruba name, would be quite happy and proud that we are pushing the line. Thank you, brother Baba Todd, for talking to Ark Republic. And I wish you and your family a speedy, safe, and full recovery in Houston after Hurricane Beryl.
Thank you so much.
We out.